So Guilty Gear Strive just came out, and you've been thinking of maining the king of the jungle himself, Leo Whitefang. He's known as an Unga Bunga rushdown character since the last title in Guilty Gear Xrd, but Leo is a bit different when it comes to Strive. Now that doesn't mean that he can't ape out once in a while, but he is a different character in a lot of different ways. In this video, I'm going to show you a general overview of Leo and Strive and see if you want to play him to show what he's good and bad at. Let's start with the good. Leo is a mix-up monster when he gets in and has many different mix-up options when he gets into the back turn stance. Now, different from Guilty Gear Xrd, he doesn't have a Rekka anymore. Instead, he has a close lunging slash that always stays in front, and a longer distance running slash that hits both in the front and back, and if spaced correctly, Leo will run behind your opponent. If this move crosses up then is blocked, it leaves Leo plus on block and puts him into his back turn stance. Leo also has another move in his 214S, which is a close range, long startup, slam into the ground that knocks the opponent into the air and gives Leo a hard knockdown. These two moves will be the main ways that Leo will be getting into this stance to start his offensive game plan. The first thing I want to look at is Leo's strengths. The best parts of Leo's gameplay come from mixing you up once he gets you knocked down and gets into his stance. The stance has a low, an overhead, a long range quick slash, a decent anti-air, a command grab, and a parry. The low is quick and close range and is good at checking your opponent and conditioning them to block low after knockdown, whereas the overhead is slow but can be comboed back into slash and back again into heavy slash. The command grab is slow with a lot of startup of Leo lunging forward and then grabbing the opponent. It's best to use it after making your opponent scared to hit a button after knocking them down a lot. The parry is incredibly strong. It can send back projectiles, counter dragon punches and normals, but does get beaten by throws and, if whiffed, definitely leaves Leo vulnerable to an attack. Leo also has a very durable fireball, meaning that it can beat out or trade with a lot of other projectiles from other characters in the cast. The heavy version, although slow, can be used as a guide to help you advance up the screen and has even more durability. To make up for how strong these projectiles are, they leave Leo vulnerable for a good amount of time after and are also charge moves. Leo also has a very strong reversal DP. It's also easier to hit than both Soul and Kai, being that it's a charge move from down to up motion. It can also be charged while being knocked down. Leo overall has a really strong offense in options to both keep his turn and take it from others. Now the cons. Unlike many of the characters in Guilty Gear, Leo does not have a run, meaning that he has a traditional forward dash which makes it hard for him to close gaps full screen. He doesn't have the best of buttons in the air, but if used correctly they can be more than enough to combat most of the cast while trying to air them. Now I know earlier we talked about that running Crossup Slash, and at first it seems incredibly strong, but if you look at it again, it also leaves Leo very vulnerable. During the Crossup Slash, he can be thrown, striked, or supered out on reaction, meaning that without meter, it is a bit of a risk to go for this forward running slash, even though it does get him into the stance and is very strong when connected. A lot of the time, Leo can't even get into the stance without taking a risk, without receiving a counter hit, or very specific combos. Leo overall can have a hard time in certain matchups getting into his stance, which is really where you want to be with this character. So right off the bat, you have to be able to manage your risks when playing this character, especially when you don't have meter. Outside of stance and his P buttons, he has some pretty slow buttons overall and can be limited in what moves he can use in unfavorable scrambles. Lastly, Leo's 6P, his anti-air, is not all that great. It is pretty slow, and if you aren't ready to use it at all times, you definitely can get stuffed out by people jumping in on you and can be frustrating to use. The next thing I want to move on to is matchups. While yes, the game just came out, there are some clear matchups where Leo struggles already. Characters like Nagoriyuki, Axel, and Ramlethal are characters in particular that are good at keeping Leo out of his effective ranges and can make it difficult for Leo to get into his game plan. Outside of those three characters, Leo does pretty decent against most of the cast, especially if they don't have a meterless invincible reversal, but it's still too early to tell all the matchup data, but those ones for sure you should look out for. All in all, Leo is a genuinely fun character, and you can for sure get in the head of some of your opponents once you're in the stance and keep people knocked down. If you made it this far, I'd like to say if you want to play Leo, you have to like rushdown characters that get a chance to set up their mix-ups, if you're good at using risk management, if you understand that you'll have a hard time against characters with better range and buttons, and if you're a fellow king of the jungle. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a comment, like the video, share with your friends, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be doing a ton of content here for Guilty Gear Strive, so if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more overviews on characters, please let me know who you'd like to see next in the comments, and as always, have a great day. Peace.